Present.
Middleton, Atkins,
Here.
Chavez,
Here, sir.
Smith,
Here.
Lewis, Johnson. We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. We'll have our invocation by Commissioner Dominic, President by Commissioner Van Carter.
I'll stand, please. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here today. I just ask and pray that you watch over, forgive us in many sins, be with us as we go forward. I just ask and pray that we will do the business best we can for the parish. Ask and pray a special prayer for our military and the ones that are fighting overseas. And thank you for all the wonderful things you've done. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, gentlemen, pledge allegiance to utilize the proper receipts. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any agenda additions?
yes.
Yes, Commissioner Miller.
I'd like for us to have an agenda addition and discuss the need for disclosure of citizens' physical address when addressing the commission. I don't think it'd be much of a discussion, just from a safety point.
Second.
That was moved by Commissioner Middleton, second by Commissioner Bowman. And let me be clear on what your motion was about.
Well, we require everyone to come up here and get their physical address, since we're going worldwide now, whether it's just regular, people can access that information worldwide. I think it's a safety issue that's brought to attention. Somebody's actually in the audience, so I don't know why anyone needs to really get their physical address. What my proposal is it still goes on the card, and then it comes to the clerk, as it does now, and then it becomes the possession of the clerk, and is available only to the commissioners, not anyone outside.
I second that.
Well, I
It's a
guess
safety thing.
I understand. Who made the second?
Bowman.
Who made the second?
That's what I was gonna say, the same thing. As long as it's documented, as long as we're able to document the clerk, that space on the card, I support it.
Okay. I guess my question for our legal staff is that not appropriate for, or is that in line with what the statute, does the statute require an address?
Point of order, this is agenda item.
Right,
We got to vote on this
Right.
and vote it down.
But
We can
there's
talk
a-
about it once it's on there.
Well, there's a motion and a second, and so my understanding.
To expand the agenda and add it to under new
Right.
business.
Right, but we can't have conversation, because I guess the conversation that is had, it can either persuade a person one way or the other to vote for or against expanding the agenda, so there
Yeah.
can be discussion.
We have discussion room.
The agenda addition itself, and so, I mean, I think it's harmless, but yeah, we still do have to have a public hearing on this, correct? Before we add it to the agenda.
Right, before we vote, yes, we have to open it up to the public.
So there was a motion by Commissioner Middleton and a second by Commissioner Bowman. But I was just asking for my clarification, is it not required under the statute? But I guess they're gonna research that and get back to us. I see Commissioner Lyndon Johnson on the board.
Yeah, I was trying to get clarification of the need to add it. I guess you say that when they come up and they put their address out there, that's a safety issue. But at the same time, our addresses are out there as well, so I really don't get that that's a safety need.
That it?
That's it.
I see no more comments, please vote to expand.
At this time, we need to open a public hearing for anyone to speak for or against this agenda addition.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of adding this item to the agenda? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of adding this item to the agenda? I see no one. Okay, please vote to expand the agenda. Vote to expand the agenda.
Mr. Johnson, both Johnsons.
President.
Okay. You're not voting on this
Good
one.
information.
Mr. Johnson, are you voting, sir?
I did.
It's not showing, sir. Okay.
That,
And so it's,
okay, that fails with one vote against, it had to be unanimous. Correct. That fails 10 to 1. Right? Yeah.
all right. All right, next we move to citizen comments.
All right, citizens who wish to address the commission must fill out a comment card and forward it to the president or the clerk of the commission. Citizens' comments will be limited to 3 minutes. I receive them in the order that I have them here. I have Mr. Ken Mitchell.
Microphone right there. Name and address.
My name's Ken Mitchell. I live in
State your name, man.
Lakeview.
Need your address.
Address.
Oh, okay. 4043 Rayner Street, 71107. Okay, I'm here to speak about the vote that we had on Saturday a while back. People were working that for LBJ at the old volunteer fire station. They're representing the Lakeview Community Association, and they've been working with him. And I went there. I was the first one to vote that Saturday morning, and both Rebecca and Ronnie told me that all the water in our neighborhood was contaminated with lead. And I said, no, that can't be, no way. And I went and voted, and then I came out and I spoke with Lyndon, and he said, no, it isn't. I gotta give him credit for that. But these people who are handing out the ballots and everything, I think are trying to influence the vote there. And I didn't like that. I didn't like being lied to. I don't think anybody else would be like to be lied to. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lita Smith. How you doing, Ms. Smith? If you can come to the microphone and give us your name and address also, please, appreciate it. You have 3
Yes,
minutes.
can I lay this down? I'm too short.
It'll pick you up.
My name is Lida
Wait a-
Smith. You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Just
Okay.
give us your address.
I live at 3444 Villa Avenue out in Lakeview. And there's a few things, well, there's a lot of things I'd like to say, but I probably won't have time to say it all today. But one that really got my attention this afternoon was I'm the president of Lakeview Waterworks. And our office manager called me and she said that our part-time lady just called her and said, I just been told that Lakeview Water was closing and that we're gonna be a payment station. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, that's what she told me. So I called Miss Mary Morris, who is the lady that told her. And I asked her, I said, would you please tell me who told you this? And she said, well, it was a very reliable source. I said, well, I'd kind of like to take it to the board, so would you tell me kindly, who told you this? And she said, well, I got it right straight from his mouth. Lyndon Bain Johnson told me that. I said, really? Really? Mr. Johnson seems to be taking it out there and telling everybody different stuff. And I noticed today on the agenda, there is, what is it? There on the, he's trying to get me off the board. And he's replacing it with someone else. Well, if we're being closed down, why would he want to replace it with somebody else? Lyndon? I have been on that board for almost 9 years. My husband was the president, Gail Smith was the president, and he died in 08. And I went on that board in honor of my husband. And I have worked tirelessly. I am on call 24/7, 7 days a week. And I don't mind, because mine's the first number that gets called anytime somebody calls and has a problem. They call me. I don't care if it's day or night. I do my very dead level best to do what is right for the people out there in that community. That is my sole purpose for being there. I have been on everything in that community, 21 years. I was on the LCA, the Lakeview Community Association, when we did something. They don't do anything anymore. I vote, I work at every poll, I vote because that's my civic duty, and I call it a privilege. And I am the vice president of this organization because I call it a privilege. And it's my honor to see if I can help the people of Lakeview sustain themselves and keep what they've got. They do not want Blanchard Water to take us over. Now, Mr. Johnson, he goes behind our back and goes to the sewer board, which has no business being in our business. And he goes back there and he gets them to put it on their bill that he's calling a meeting on the water. Well, we went down there, it only, 20 people showed up. But we went down there and we wanted to see what was going on. And he was sitting there, he was talking about years ago. And we told him, we said, well, let's talk about today. But he didn't. He was trying to badmouth us and tell everybody that we did. So I see that my time has expired. And I will be back Thursday.
Second.
And to talk to you
You
some
have more time.
There's a
Yes, sir.
motion and a second.
They're allowing you more time if they vote this year.
You allow me to go on?
Let's vote on it.
I sat down there
We're
and,
gonna vote.
Vote on it.
Stay right there.
yes,
Let's vote on it.
Go ahead.
Let's vote on it.
Is there a motion, there was a motion from Commissioner Mike Milton, second by Commissioner Lynn.
Yes.
For the Bowman to extend their time. Please vote on the motion to extend. That passes 10-2. Please continue.
but anyway, we were there and, Lyndon looked at me one time and he said, I can put you on and I can take you off. And I said, really? I thought it took 7 of the 12 commissioners. He said, it does. So then, he was just telling people different things and not telling the truth, and we were trying our best to enlighten people about what's going on, because people out there are gonna have their water rates, they're gonna have their water rates raised. That's it, that's the bottom line. They can't come in and take us over and not raise the water rates, okay? But then he went against us again and went behind our back again, and he did another deal with the sewer company, had them to go out, and he put on it on there. And we got copies of all that. You've got it all in front of you. Please, for God's sake, read what I've got for you. And they called another meeting for a vote, and 39 people showed up. But Mr. Harry Lowry, who is the president of the water company, he went up there and they told him he couldn't be there. They told him he had to leave. And I can assure you, when I went to put my 2 cents in, I told him, I said, you better not ask me to leave. That's a public building and I have a right to be here just like anybody else. And I tell you what, they sit there and somebody came in, and I can't say that word, so I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna use another word. I had a person while I was standing there came in and said, what the heck is going on? You can fill it in. And who told you to do this? And Rebecca Davis, who is the office manager of the sewer company, she popped up and said, my boss, Lyndon Johnson. I said, really? Mr. Johnson is your boss? She said, yes. I said, okay, and I left. But y'all, my commission has run out, I know that. It ran out. I tried, and you know this, Lyndon, I tried many times to call you, and you would never turn my call back. I called you one day, and I asked Lyndon, I said, Lyndon, when are you gonna put our commissions up? Because our board voted us on. And he said, well, I hadn't got around to it. Well, Mary Kay, she's up too. And I said, you know, we wanna be on there. Well, I hadn't got around to it. So at this last meeting, the first meeting, I called him and I said, Lyndon, are you gonna put us back on the commission? And he looked at me and said, you're on it, aren't you? I took that I was on the commission. But I guess I'm not, y'all. It seems like he just, says what he wants to say when he wants to say it. And Lyndon, this is far, far from over. Believe me when I tell you that. You have yet to see the best that's coming. Thank you so much. God bless all y'all, and thank you. And I hope that y'all will please read what I wrote, because every word, I swear to God, is the truth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Miss Mary Kay Callahan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mary Kay Callahan. And if individuals would not direct their comments, if speakers would not direct their comments for individuals, your comments.
My name's Mary Kay Talon. I reside at 2926 Lakeview Road, Shreveport, 71107. And I'm here about Lakeview Water. Our water customers that we service have not had a rate increase in over 46 years. And presently, we charge $30 for the minimum, which is 0 to 3,000 gallons. If you look at Blanchard's rate, they charge 0 to 2,000, and it's $36 and some change. I was a little puzzled why Commissioner Johnson had the sewer board send out the notices about the meeting on May the 6th and the vote on June the 10th. Because the sewer board only sent out 434 sewer bills. Compared to our water district, we send out approximately 700 bills a month. So a third of our water customers didn't get these notices that were sent out on the sewer bill. Especially North Cross subdivision, because they're on the city sewer. At the meeting on May the 6th, near the end, I asked Commissioner Johnson if he could get me a copy of this 2003 study that he referred to during the meeting. He said yes, he would get me a copy. And at that time, I asked him if I had to submit a public records request. He said no. Well, it's been 44 days since he told me he would get me a copy. And the study's 14 years old, and I have yet to receive it. Also, if the Lakeview Waterworks District is taken over by the town of Blanchard, every customer is gonna have to come up with a water deposit for the town of Blanchard. And we've always done our duty up there. We talk to people. We've had people that they've had problems paying their bill. Maybe they got sick or in the hospital, had a death in the family, and we work with those people. And I just want y'all to take that into consideration, because all my neighbors on Lakeview Road are against Blanchard taking over our water district. Thank you.
Gregory Young.
My name is Gregory Young. I reside at 2209 North Cross Drive, and I have been so for the past 24 years. First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking each and every one of you all for your service. I believe that in my lifetime, I've either worked or lived in each and every one of you all's districts. So on some level, I feel a bit of kinship. I've lived in Moortown, I've lived in Shelby Watts district in Moortown, I've lived in Ben Cawthorn's district, in Cedar Grove, and lived in Stephen Jackson's district, in Grimmy Drive Apartments, and I've also lived in that part of Moortown, Mr. Bowman. And of course, I've worked for the Postal Service in Shreveport for 20 years before I left and became a manager in other places. So I worked in the other places where I haven't lived. I worked in the other communities in Shreveport, either managing Centenary Station and back in the old South Park Station. So without belaboring the point, I'm soundly familiar with this area, and I've lived here for most of my life. My family arrived here in Caddo about 2 years after Caddo became a parish. My great-great-great-grandmother was brought here as a slave, and her slave master was one of the pioneers in developing Caddo. Of course, he was a white guy, but he still made a contribution, and I'm a product of that. I'd also like to add that our presence here today must be about fidelity. Whatever we do in the halls of government, whatever decisions we make, our fidelity should be to justice. Not about personalities, even though collegiality is something that develops over a period of time when we're working with one another. And of course, there's bartering that goes on between commissioners. And I think that's an important part of a democratic process. But whatever choices we make, fidelity to justice has to be our paramount concern. Mr. President, I rise today in support of the continued retention of Ms. Lyda Smith. You all gave me the honor several years ago at the behest of my Commissioner Johnson to serve on the Lakeview Water District. And y'all have had the opportunity to observe Ms. Lyda, and pretty much what you see is what you get. I would add that years ago, when there was an opportunity to appoint someone in this position, when Ms. McCullough arrived at the City Council, she was in support of Lyndon Johnson getting that position. And of course, he filled the interim vacancy until he was duly elected later on. So she's not a person who has a bone to pick just for the sake of picking a bone. And I mean, I understand how her personality kind of comes across sometimes, but let me tell you what my personal experience is with her. No one with the Water District works harder. Now, me and Ms. Lyda, we don't agree on a lot of things. We don't have very little in common. I mean, she's...
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Bowman to extend, second by Commissioner Matthew Glenn. Please vote.
This has a point of order. There's a total of 15 minutes required from each one of the speakers. You guys have used 12 minutes so far. You got additional 3 minutes for amongst the speakers.
Appreciate it, but let me provide clarity. That would be a combination if we wanted a public hearing, if I'm correct. As citizen comments, they're all allowed 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Correct.
Okay, so if this was a public hearing. All right, if this was a public hearing, then that would be the case. So everybody's allowed 3 minutes. There is a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bowman, second by Commissioner Matthew Lynn. Please vote on the motion to extend 3 minutes.
Still suspend the whole staff.
That passes 11-1.
Can I have a point of order?
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that if it's on the same subject, it's not a 15-minute time total? No, not unless it's public hearing. Okay. All right.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioners. Obviously, Ms. Lyda is white. I'm not. She's a Republican. I'm not. She's a female. I'm not. But is she perfect? Neither am I. And so I think we should take this under consideration, the fact that this is really a nonpartisan, non-gender specific issue. This is about what's in the best interest of the citizens in the Lakeview area. That are clients or customers of the Lakeview Water District. And regardless of how you choose to evaluate Ms. Lyda's service, I rise to challenge the premise to remove her. Now, it's been my observation that there's a campaign to purge her and to silence her opposition to moving into Blanchard. In 1998, I was the first black male to ever become a postmaster in Arklatex. So I worked in Blanchard. I was a postmaster there. I love the people of Blanchard. So this is not about Blanchard versus Lakeview. This is about fidelity to justice. Now, I think that what we need to do is pull back and just hold up, just stop this train. I see it's on your agenda to consider putting somebody else on the board in the place of Ms. Lyda. I think more importantly, what we should do is find out what are the underlying issues here. Because obviously there have been some attempts to hold votes without any legal authority to have votes. And you all should ask yourself this question: did you all authorize a vote to be held, in particular, where members of the community like myself was not even given notice? I mean, there is an issue that's embedded in the Constitution that gives me due process of law. How can I be allowed and able to vote if I'm not given notice? So what I'm saying is that there's a lot of shenanigans going on with this issue. And I think you all, before you make a decision to move forward, I think that what you need to do is consider at least 3 things, and I promise I'll be fast. We should evaluate whether the level of service that the citizens in the Lakeview Water District area is adequate. Does it need to be upgraded? Does it need to be more creatively innovated in a manner that includes going online to pay your bills, check to bank, and so forth. Also, we need to consider the fact that the rates in Lakeview, and I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary, but the water rates in Lakeview have only risen $1.70 since 1971. Now, I would challenge you to show me any water district that has existed over this period of time that has enjoyed this level of excellence in terms of the way it deals with rates and its customers. And one of the reasons why Lakeview rates hadn't gone up is because governmental bodies use water to supplement revenues, to tax revenues. You know, if you want to raise taxes, you got to go to the people. Okay, but if you want to increase money, the simple way to do it is just to raise waterways. Well, all of the money that we spend goes right back in it. So I hope you all will slow down and take a look at what's really going on in this area. And I do appreciate your indulgence today. Thank you so much.
Next I have Matthew Grosher, and I hope I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Matthew Grosher, I'm sorry. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. You may proceed.
I'm Matthew Grosser. I live at 4105.
Please let go and step back. Just it'll pick you up real
I live
good.
at 4105
Thank you.
Hampton Avenue. And I've been in there now for about 6 years. I bought my place here about 6 years ago. And I look what's going on in the water company here, and as you already said here, I'm not going to go over it again. Our costs have stayed even, and it's not going up. And the real problem in our neighborhood is not the water company, it's the sewer. We have a sewer company who has about 1/3 of their people in there, and they're not collecting the money. And these people want to take over us. Why should we let someone take over us who can't manage what they got? And the problem here is the sewer company not being managed right. There is nothing wrong with this water company, nothing. The bill hasn't been going up, the service is great. Why do we want to mess that up? That's it. I really don't have anything else other than that to say. But I would like to say, I'd like to see the sewer company people, I'd like to see them be replaced with somebody who's gonna go out there and look and check the people who aren't paying, pay. That's how you can get revenue that you need. No business survives like that. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Next, Mr. John Sell.
John Settle for Tealwood. I'm not going to talk about Facebook or anything like that. On your agenda today, you do have 4 amendments, I think, to be introduced to the UDC. And I commend the whole group's thought process in modifying the UDC to fit the 5-mile radius, despite the contrary comments of Mr. Sweeney. I don't believe, as I looked at these amendments, I thought there was one other one that was of this importance to you, and then I also sat in on a meeting with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Dominic, and that dealt with the mobile homes. Right now, if a mobile home is destroyed and it's a special exception or something, it can't be replaced. And I think that there was thinking that if somebody wants to replace their mobile home with a nicer facility, manufactured home, that they should be able to due to economics, et cetera. So I think that perhaps one of the amendments that was kicked around some didn't quite make it to this table. And I would suggest that you might look at that, because I think there was discussion on the mobile home issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
So we have no more. We move to reports. Administrator report.
Wood.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Val, we done? Come forward. But we have one of our team members is being recognized, and we like to publicly state so. She, Valerie Young, is receiving an honorary. She's an honorary for the top business professional of the year.
Oh, right.
Honorary through the Shreveport Chamber of Commerce, and we are certainly proud of her accomplishment.
Woo!
Thank you.
And I don't know if you probably didn't see the flyer yet, but there's a flyer that had a list of names, and Valerie is in the middle. So we appreciate this opportunity to tell her congratulations and also highlight her achievement.
Yes.
So Ms. Dunn, would you like to offer any comments?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Dr. Wilson, and thank you, Commissioners, just for this opportunity. I'm truly honored to be one of the honorees for the 2017 Business Professional of the Year through the Greater Shreveport Chamber of Commerce. So thank Dr. Wilson, the administration, my immediate supervisor, Erica Bryant, just for allowing me the opportunity to always go out into the community to promote the parish and the great things that we do, as well as supporting our small and emerging business. So, and I hold that dear to my heart, and I always try to go out and represent the parish in a very positive light. So thank all of you just for your time and support and allowing me the opportunity to go out into the community to represent the parish. And also, I know we will have the recognition next Thursday. However, when they set the date, I already planned on being on vacation. However, the parish will have someone present at the event to represent me there. My son is here who will be there. Hopefully will make it, and I just want to acknowledge him because over the weekend, my son got engaged to his beautiful fiancee, Destiny Taylor. I just slid that in there. So thank all of you once again for the opportunity, and you'll be here getting more information about the dinner to attend next Thursday. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Valerie.
Thank
Proud
you.
of you.
Thank you.
President Jackson, that concludes my report for the day, sir. So I have something for me. I don't have anything else today, sir. Yes, sir. Unless you want me to say something.
Nope. Next, we move to communication committee reports.
Commissioner Linden, Joe.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna get the easy stuff out the way first. Mr. Sweeney. Can you give me an update on that temporary business at the corner of Jewella and Dar Street?
What we discovered is the gentleman had put the wrong address down on his application. It was in the wrong location to begin with. And so those pods will be removed in the next 2 days. And as of today, the sales have ceased, and he'll have to come back in and make application for a temporary use permit for outdoor sales.
Okay, I rode by there today. He's outside selling right now.
Yeah, but if you go by there in the next few hours, you'll find out he's no longer selling.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. My next item is dealing with the Lakeview Water Board and the Lakeview community. For your information, I passed out this sheet to each one of the commissioners. It comes from the Louisiana Public Service Commission. It talks about the rates between Lakeview and the town of Blanchard. That's comes from their report that they did. To address some of the issues that came out in public comments, there was public notice from this meeting that there was a meeting in Lakeview that was going to be done in May. From that meeting, we had some people show up from the community, told them within 30 days we'll have a vote. So that was another one. Plus, from this meeting, I also noticed that it will be a vote on June the 10th at the Lakeview Fire Station. When I went to the Lakeview Water Board meeting, and I told them about the possibility of Blanchard taking that particular water board over, my answer that came to me was not no, but hell no. It wasn't gonna happen. So, my deal was, well, you're a body of 5 people representing the Lakeview area. And I said that if you have that opinion like that, what I would do is make sure that we have a vote from the community. That's a democratic way to do things. So we had the vote. And the vote showed that the people wanted to be Blanchard instead of Lakeview. While I voted early on, I think I voted after the first gentleman that came up. While I was standing there, I did hear someone badgering some of the people coming in about vote no. They hadn't seen what the ballot even said, but they were saying vote no. And I told everyone there that, you know, they can't do that. So, you know, there was a lot of negative propaganda that went out pertaining to this. So if someone didn't know that it was a vote, there was letters that were sent out. Every letter that went out, I got a copy of, because you had a lot of citizens that were in favor of doing away with the Lakeview Water Board. The water rates, as you can see, are different between Blanchard and Lakeview. Blanchard has 2 different rates, and they would be going to 3 different rates if all of this transpires. There's an inside the city rate and outside the city rate, but then being that Lakeview and also Pine Hill are both water buyers, the town of Blanchard decided that they will have a 3rd rate that will be one in between those 2. If anybody knows me, they know that I do return phone calls. Now, I might not return them at the time which you want me to call, but I do return all phone calls. Last one on this sheet is, I don't take good to threats. It just doesn't sit well with me. To talk about the water rates going higher than what Lakeview has, it's kind of puzzling to me when Lakeview buys their water from Blanchard 100%. So basically you got a middleman. So if you eliminate the middleman, how does the water rates go up? There was a corporate endeavor agreement between the water board and the sewer board. In that, the water board will notify the sewer board when there is a new person moving into the area. And that's how the sewer board can basically make sure that they charge the people when they come in. Well, I worked with both bodies to try to get this done. It was done for maybe a month or 2. The first issue came up, and the person didn't pay their sewer bill, and the water company was supposed to go out and cut off the water. Well, after discussion, the person's water got turned back on. And so they then said that they was gonna kill the corporate endeavor agreement effective July 1st. There is a 2013 study that we did with the Unified Water Utility District. It can't be printed, so I can't send it to you. But I do know that you were sent an email last week with the link to give you that particular report. The commission doesn't have to okay a community vote. Basically what I was doing was trying to do a democratic process of allowing the people in that particular area to voice their concerns and their issues, and to say whether they want Lakeview to represent them or do they want Blanchard to represent them for their water supply. And these guys, I told them about it in all the meetings. So it's nothing new to none of them sitting up here. There were 2 public meetings, well, 1 public meeting that was held, and that was in May, like I said, and then the vote also. The water board had the opportunity to put the vote on their bill, but they didn't. Instead, they sent out negative propaganda. So why would I go to them to say, put it on there when I knew that they probably wasn't? I get complaints all the time. I get complaints about the hours of operation. I get complaints about trying to talk to some of the board members, and it turns into a shouting contest, and it's just time for a change. When you go to a meeting and when someone says, I'm not gonna do it, and they give you a bunch of rhetoric behind it, are you really there for yourself, or are you really there for the people that you're supposed to be representing? I look at this as a way for the people in the Lakeview area to actually have a cheaper water bill. I'm on the highest rate on the Lakeview. Just recently, that rate was reduced. I complained many times, and it's on their minutes, they put it in there, about having a 3/4 inch line and an 1.5 inch line, which I've told you this story before. And with the 1.5-inch line, if you use 6,000 gallons of water and a person has 3/4-inch line and they use 6,000 gallons of water, that I'm gonna pay more because I have an 1.5-inch line, which shouldn't matter. It's 6,000 gallons of water. There's no extra water. Yeah, you did change it. You just recently changed it. Yeah, but how long did it take? I've been in office for 6 years. So
Not gonna do an
basically,
exchange.
so basically, it's been changed. But why was it changed? Because of the fact that Blanchard was now gonna be a competitor instead of you buying the water from them. Thank you, Mr. President. That's it.
Commissioner Gay-Watt.
All right. Let me start with the easy stuff, I guess. First of all, I would like to say that today is June 19th, and it is Sickle Cell Awareness Day nationally, and of course, we adopted a resolution number 56 at our last work session. And I ask you all to remember today to give blood or do something in honor of sickle cell patients. But if you didn't, I would like to read you on Sunday, June 25th, at Morning Star Baptist Church, the youth department will be holding a blood drive. So you will be giving more than, or well, you will be getting more than a cookie. You will be giving love to someone, and it is to be held from 1 to 3:15. So you have another opportunity to give back for this cause. The next announcement I have is the Expungement Summit for 2017 is slated to be held August 25th at the Riverview Hall with 2 sessions at 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. We'll be giving more information about that later. Dr. Wilson, on the satellite voter locations that I asked about, would you have an update for me for our next meeting? Over the weekend, we had an empowerment summit, and I am so empowered. I feel so good at work today from this weekend. So thank you, President Johnson, for that empowerment summit and bringing all of that invaluable information to our parish over the weekend. And it was brought up about satellite locations, and we were like, all so proud, because we're already working on that in Caddo Parish.
Yeah.
So I just need to get an update so we can start to move forward with it. And the next thing is, oh yeah, thank you, Commissioner Cardona. Even Webster has 3 locations. And we
Oh,
know
that's
with Webster having 3 locations and Caddo Parish having 1. The next thing is, I know the Rite Aid locations, I have 3 that are in District 7.
Yes.
I've been getting a plethora of calls from constituents concerned about the grass that is growing up around them. And I see someone came through and kind of bush hogged it. If you could check with the city and find out what are the plans to make the actual owners maintain those properties, and you know, what are their plans to do anything about it, because it does look very bad in those areas. And if they're just gonna go through and bush hog it and not clean it up afterwards, we need to find out, because I'm sure Commissioner Chavez will be happy to get some people to make sure that it's maintained. The next thing is, over the weekend, I was included in a chain of emails about an issue of a citizen to open up a business that was thought to be in my district of District 7. But I was 99% sure that it's not in my district, but after doing my homework, I learned that I was indeed correct and it's not in my district. And I'm glad that it wasn't, so I wouldn't have to put my red nose on today, because if there's something going on in District 7, Stormy Gage Watts is the first person who needs to know about it. So I would be very appalled to have another commissioner deal with something that is in my district and not come to me first. So that was a relief that it's not in the district, and I do believe that that issue has been resolved as well. The next thing is, if you have, I know that we are currently working, I don't know what's going on with this, I'm just gonna go with what I've heard about the parish, the sheriff office working with the city police officers. Are you aware of where we are with that?
Well, ma'am, I need to, I just been keeping track of the city council proceedings on that.
Okay.
But I need to try, probably, I'm meeting with Gary, the sheriff's attorney in the morning at 9 o'clock. So I intend to ask him about that.
great. I've been getting a lot of complaints from the constituents over at the car wash on West 70th at that corner, close to the Comcast location, about loud music and hanging out. And lady said she's waited all her life to buy a house in that district, and she can't even sleep at night. So find out the information on that as well. So maybe if the sheriffs are enacted to be a part of that, we can do something about it. Thank you. That is it.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Mr. Sweeney, can you come up here for a second? I wanted to touch a little bit about what was going on this weekend with the car doctors, and I appreciate you guys for taking care of that.
Sure.
But it raised some questions for me. They were told that in order for them to allow the special use or the non-conforming use, that they would have to pay $1,400. So on that fine, I wanted to ask, what exactly does that fee break down to?
Okay, if they had to go through a special use permit, they would have had to pay, I believe it's roughly $750 for the actual special use permit, and then there's a fee requirement for the site plan that they have to submit to the MPC board.
So the $750, is that, are they paying for a piece of paper?
They're paying for the actual application for an SUP, it's almost like a zoning case. And then on top of that, they have to submit a site plan, and they have to pay a site plan fee.
Does that application cost the MPC $750?
No, it costs the applicant the $750.
You guys are just making off of a Xerox copy and handing it to them?
No, sir, it doesn't quite work that way. There is an application form and a series of checklists of things, of information they have to give us. And so that's the kind of information that is required in an application. And that's the fees that were set by the city council for this type of use. And then on top of that, there is a site plan application fee that we request for the purpose of reviewing the site plan. Because when this goes before the board, we analyze the site plan and the application, then submit a staff report and analysis, and then submit that to the board for their consideration, and there's a public hearing that's required for that.
The instance that I'm referring to was the car docks that was opening up an oil change place in the old Pet Boys.
Right.
They had an incumbent oil change place. So
Right.
everything was exactly the same. So do you think that they would have needed a new site plan, being that the exact use was what it was before?
Well, considering the fact this property has never been site planned to begin with, this is a property that was developed before they actually did the site planning efforts. It probably would have been required, but because we were able to go back through the revenue department and verify that there actually was a business in operation as late as September of 2016, they fell within the window of opportunity to be able to go ahead and continue that use.
The lady, when she reached out to me, it was last Wednesday, and we finally got this accomplished this morning. She told me she's been working on this for over a month. So I want to see, what is the protocol at your guys' place to offer good customer service? Who's the oversight to reach out to?
Well, what we do is typically they will reach out first to Alan Clark for that particular use, because what she was looking for was a certificate of occupancy. And so we will then also, if there's an issue related to planning, that person will then meet with a planner to go over what is required, if there's something additional required for that property.
Mr. Sweeney, can I relay some information to you? I talked to Alan Clark at 4:30 on Friday, and when I asked Mr. Clark to reach out to the citizen, he told me it's too late in the day and that he would pick it back up on Monday morning. And I said, as far as I'm concerned, at 4:30, you're still at work. Now, as far as I'm still at work at 11 p.m., so I don't care if somebody calls me at 11 p.m. But if your employee is going to tell me that at 4:30 p.m. on a Friday that it's too late in the day to get something done, I have a problem with that. And I told him that. So he agreed to three-way call the citizen, and he told the citizen basically that he would reach back out to her on Monday. But I don't like that. I don't like if your employees are telling our citizens that it's too late in the day to get something done. It's never too late to work 100% of the time while you're at work.
First of all, that was never communicated to me.
Right, and that's what I'm doing right now.
And if if that is the truth, then I would have a problem with that too.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because my position is all the way up to 5 o'clock, and in a lot of cases past 5 o'clock, sometimes you have to go above and beyond the service in order to give good service to our citizens. And if that is the case, and I will look into that, sir, I will make certain that doesn't happen again.
I guarantee you that was what was said,
Okay.
and I told him I disagree with you, and I think we should call her right now. She's already heartbroken as it is, and there's no reason why she should stay the entire weekend wondering, is her business going to open?
I understand.
So, thank you for allowing her to open her business, and thank you for looking into that, Mark.
You bet. Thank you.
That's all, President.
Thank you. Commissioner Vogt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I just wanted to remind everybody that the Appropriations Committee we're having our meeting immediately following this work session, and I believe it's in the back room. Well, it's the conference room. That's the proper term, the conference room. And so, yeah, the fully accessible to the public conference room. And in addition to, I just wanted to make a note about the blood drive. Miss Gage Watts, what time you said again? It's the 23rd, the 25th?
The 25th, Sunday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay. And I'm not trying to sound like a kumbaya guy, as I always seem to sound like, but I think this is a great opportunity, you all, if not all of us, most of us, if you're able to, we can do something collective as a whole, where we're doing something good for the citizens and for this cause for sickle cell and giving blood. That's something that's easy to, that's one situation where it's easy to give blood, when you're actually giving blood to the system. So, and I think it'd be great, and I think it's also something that's very near and dear to our colleague. If you all aren't aware, she has a child who has this disease, sickle cell, and this is not something that comes up just during the month of June. This is something that her and thousands of people have to deal with 365 days a year. So if we can just do that and give support, and by giving blood, if that can help, then by all means, I just implore that we all try and do something collectively. That's just my suggestion, and thank you, Mr. President. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Dominic.
Yeah, I had a suggestion too, kind of on the same line. I don't, it's too late this year, but maybe next, why can't we have the bus come down here and let's have a drive against the city of Shreveport, get some media and say, hey, we challenge y'all, you challenge us, and see who has the most maybe elected officials and employees that will come out and give blood. When that truck, if that van is there, it's gonna make it a lot easier for me to drive to Vivian, is right here to because they come to the courthouse sometimes, but it's a lot easier when that van is right out here.
That's true.
If they can park out there in our parking lot. You know, maybe have we can get some media exposure that the commissioners challenge the city of Shreveport elected officials to come give blood, because that's an easy
excellent.
thing to do.
That's excellent.
There's 12 of us and only 7 of them.
Yeah, that's true. We're at an advantage.
They have more employees.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do it too. We'll have a trophy for the elected officials, a trophy for the administration. But let's think about that maybe next week.
Sounds good, thank you.
Second thing is, Dr. Wilson, maybe if you could have Ken Ward give a 4 or 5 minute presentation on the water study that was done, because I think if I remember some of the issues that Commissioner Johnson was talking about, maybe hit home by the study, which I think basically said that ultimately we're trying to do away with a lot of these water districts that have one. So if he could on Thursday and give a brief update on that, I think that may help with some of these issues. So that's the only thing I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, President.
All right, Commissioner Lynn.
I'll ditto with Commissioner Dominic that, yeah, it's on with the city on the blood drive. I'm 100% behind that. Dr. Wilson, at our last hearing as far as alcohol sales to minors, it was brought up by the body, and Mr. Bernstein, Attorney Bernstein, and Attorney Gary Parker met, and the sheriff has agreed to supply the parish with the names of the companies that were checked and did not sell to minors. One of the things that was brought up, I believe, in the last check, there were 3 companies that were ticketed for selling to minors. However, there were 24 companies that were checked that refused to sell to minors. And I'd like to bring it before the body that if we could please send a letter to the 24 companies that did not sell, not giving any identifying information, however, just sending them a thank you letter for not selling and that they were checked. That's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
President's report?
Yes. Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
I am going back to our to be continued from 2:30 meeting. I sent over an email on May 8th, asking about the Facebook livecast. And where I'm going with this is, I've always talked about up here communication. And I always ask you to communicate. And I ask the administration to communicate. And I sent an email on May 8th. I sent a follow-up email on May 16th. Sent another email on May 30th. Sent another email on May 31st. I pulled you to the side over there and asked you questions. Pulled Nathan to the side, called Nathan, left a message. My issue is when I ask about things and I don't get a response, or if I email and I don't get a response, I want to put it on the record that I'm gonna feel some type of way about it. Because what we had happen in committee meeting today shouldn't have happened. And this is why issues like this, we have to have this long diatribe up here. Because if it's not said up here, it's not said at all. I should not have to come out here, or anybody should not have to come out here just to get a point across or to get things done. I'm offended. Because it seemed like I was being called a liar back then. I have called, I have emailed, I have pulled people in the corner to talk about this. And that was being reduced to that Facebook issue. And that's not what this is about. For me, it's a big issue. The issue is communication. And I've been talking about that last year up until now. I send emails, they don't go responding, unless I send a read request or a delivery request. I got to copy 5 and 6 different people on it to get a response. That should not be the case. When I asked about that, somebody should have said, well, have you considered this? Nathan was the only person who said, you know, we got concerns. Oh no, he didn't say we got concerns. His words to me was, we don't want to have to deal with all those comments. And to me, that's not a legitimate reason to not do what we discussed back there. I have asked. I'm begging for better communication. When I send an email, I expect a response via email, because that's how I track things, and I'm putting it out there. That's how I keep a record for myself. But there seems to be an issue with hidden reply. If I send you something and you think it's questionable, there has never been a time where you have not copied the subject matter expert, or if you think it's an issue of legality or ethics, you copy the attorney. I'm sitting here looking at an email where we talked about the commission budget last week. And when you responded, you copied Todd up. So, to me, what the conversation that took place back there shouldn't have had to take place the way it took place. And from a professional point of view, I think we got to get back to professionalism. Now, I'm going to apologize to the committee for the take that I took, but I expect professionalism. And I'm going to ask y'all, when I send an email, reply. Because what happened, I don't like to get into the he said, she said, or he said, because this, I have been talking about this for the better part of 2 months, back into March. And when I was told after a meeting That's small, we can take care of that. We'll get it done. And then when I come back and say, well, what's the status update? And then all of a sudden, I'm getting no response, no response. Somebody could have easily picked up the phone, or somebody could have easily hit reply on the emails when I asked what is the status update, and said, here are our reservations. But it seems like we try to corner each other until a point to where we get up here and there's dissension up here around this body. And I'm not saying that's the goal. I hope it's not. I'm a negotiable person. I work with people. But I gotta know the con. I gotta know where you coming from. The only reason why I felt the need to bring that conversation up to this body today is because it's a matter of public record now. And my phone line is always open. I respond from the phone, I respond on my iPad, I pick up the phone after 5, I pick it up early in the morning. If I can't get back to you, I'm gonna get back to you. If I'm doing something, I text you and say I'll call you back. From a professional perspective, and that's been on my heart for a while. And I tried to hold off and hold off and hold off. But I would hope that we can get a better line of communication and just professional respect for each other. Next.
At this time, we have no old business. We move to new business. Authorized introduction of ordinance number 5703, declaring certain adjudicated properties to be surplus and authorize the parish administrator designee to sell the parish's tax interest in certain surplus adjudicated properties.
Move for introduction.
Second.
I'd like to make a substitute motion to englobo and introduce 5703 and resolutions number 58 and resolutions number 59.
Second.
It's been moved by the chair, second by Commissioner Milton to englobo and adopt those ordinance and resolutions. Does anybody want to speak on any particular ordinance or resolution before we do the englobo and adopt?
Commissioner Johnson was the second on it, but I have no problem.
Okay, all right. So that was moved by the chair, second by Commissioner Johnson. I apologize.
Which Johnson, sir?
Commissioner
Okay.
Linda Johnson. All right. Please vote on the englobo and adopt those.
I would have guessed the other way around, Commissioner Middleton.
That passes unanimously. Next.
Authorize appointment to the Lakeview Waterworks District. Authorize Mr. Bob Brown, the Lakeview Waterworks District, replaces Ms. Lyda Smith.
Move to advance to third.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Dominic, to advance to Thursday. You want to speak on your motion? You want to speak on yourself?
No, we take it for Thursday.
Commissioner Milton.
I take it off.
Okay. Commissioner Lynn.
I move to add Mrs. Lyda Smith to the list.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a substitute motion.
Substitute
by
motion.
Commissioner Matthew Lynn, second by Commissioner Mike Middleton, to add Ms. Lyda Smith to the introduction and advancement.
Hers would be a reappointment.
Reappointment.
And it'll just
So
read
would
that
this
way.
advance in the same manner, or would these be two separate? How would we?
Well, one would either be a reappointment or one would be an appointment, so we can, it'll be under the same
So it'll all
thing,
be-
under the
okay.
same deal.
Just want to speak for clarity for everybody on the same page. All right, so there's a substitute. Do you want to speak on your?
No.
Do you want to speak on yourself?
I think Ms. Smith is, and the other members that have spoken have made a good case, and I support them.
Commissioner Linda.
Yes. I guess the point that gets me, Ms. Smith has served 9 years, and I appreciate the time that she has served. But when you get to a point where it becomes personally, you feel it's personally yours, then you miss the focus of what you actually service for. And there's been a lot of complaints towards Ms. Smith, and I've been trying to work with that, and it's to the point now that we just need to move to different directions.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I really, sorry, ma'am, I don't really know you, and I'm assuming this is Bob Brown, the ex-commissioner?
No.
No? Okay. I don't know this man either. I would just ask before our Thursday meeting if maybe we can receive some resumes and some letters of maybe support or against, so that we can make an educated decision on the two people that we're looking at.
Fair.
That's all, guys. Thank you, President.
So fair.
Mr. Cardone, volunteer.
Just as a point of clarification, on the two things that we just advanced, is this gonna be essentially a ballot? We're gonna be voting on these two people? But that's
Yes.
essentially what
Pretty
we're doing.
much.
So it'll be like any other appointment where you got more than one candidate?
That's
Yes,
correct.
sir.
Okay.
Just like it.
Commissioner Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah, another point to add on to all of this is when I first got elected, Lakeview Water Board basically had 5 members within the Lakeview neighborhood. And I told them that I wanted to diversify that some. So in that period of time, I did put someone from Mallet Bay that's in there, and Bob Brown now stays in North Cross. So that would put the 3 largest neighborhoods with a representation on the board. And that's the reason for making the change.
That it? Please vote on the substitute to add Ms. Lyda Smith to the ballot.
That's to add Lyda Smith and move the first one
as well.
as well. Yes.
No?
That's a substitute. That's a substitute.
Okay, it's just,
Add.
okay.
That's how I understood it. Is that correct, Commissioner? That passes 8-4 to add Ms. Lyda Smith to the ballot, to the bill. And now we need to advance it.
Right now, you would, I guess you already have a motion and a second.
Right. I think to be
Adding
safe.
this would really put
I
her
think to
name
be-
and advance both of them for
Well, let's go
Thursday.
ahead just to be safe, vote on
No,
advancing
you,
the two.
the substitute motion conflicts with the other one, and so you have that covered.
Okay.
Could we, for just procedural,
Just go ahead and, we had a vote to add her, and then the vote is to the original vote.
yeah, and I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily see the need for another one, but I think for,
Well, what you're gonna have, when you get to Thursday, you're gonna have 2 separate items to vote on, and when one passes, or if one, you have an opportunity, you're gonna have 2, one undoing what you did.
I don't need, I'm treating it like an ordinance, my bad. Okay, I see what you're saying, so that's it. All right, well, that passes. Next.
So Mr. Brown will be on there too, right?
Yes.
And preferably, who would those resumes go to if they're gonna submit them to?
Clerk.
It would come to the clerk, yes.
All right, well, that's it.
I'll make copies and disseminate to the commissioners. That's it, we have consent agenda.
Moved by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Carter. There's no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Brother Wayne. Can you come back Thursday? I apologize. Is it possible? Because I adjourned.
Why don't we give
We can get him. No, you already here.
I'm sorry. Let's suspend the rules.
We have adjourned.
Well, we have adjourned.
We've adjourned.
Yeah.
We adjourned.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have that sheet in front of me.
Thank you, sir.
You want to throw on the record?
And then we had the gavel drop, and at that point, we were adjourned.
Right now.